Valerian and Lorelei was a comic series that ran in the anthology comic Pilot, co-created by Pierre Christin and Jean-Claude Mercier. It ran from November 1967 to January 2010. It's a French science fiction story that takes place in the 28th century and follows Valerian, who works with the Spatial Temporal Service. Now, Valerian City of a Thousand Planets is an adaptation of that long-running French series. In the comic, it's his job to stop and capture rogue elements across space and time. He gets the job done usually, but appears unreliable at times, sometimes getting drunk, being a knucklehead, or late for work because he's a time traveler. Then there's Lorelei, who Valerian runs across during a mission. She's a former redhead peasant girl from 11th century France. Due to unforeseen circumstances, she winds up on Valerian's ship when he goes back to the future. With nothing else to do, she's later trained to be a spatial temporal agent and becomes his partner. Ain't that important for the movie? Pretty much no. So far I was having a great movie going year. John Wick Chapter 2, Get Out, and Logan were great, even though I still have a major issue with Logan. Ghost in the Shell was a disappointment, but I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as much as the first one. Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming were both a blast, even though I also have a problem with Spider-Man Homecoming as well. Well, just one thing. So, 7 films and only 1 dud. Not bad. So where does Valerian fall? Right beside Ghost in the Shell, unfortunately. As far as I can tell, the plot of the film is both characters are already established as agents, but there's no time travel. At the start of the film, a planet's inhabitants has several ships fall on top of them, destroying their planet. Later on, Alpha, an uber super space station that has about 1,000 different civilizations on it, has a radiation incident occur, and I'm sorry, I can't talk about the plot anymore. Whenever I do that, I just remember about the movie and it was just so boring. Okay, let me just start with the positives first. I really like the visuals. The creature and set design of this universe look great and very well thought out. Plus, there were great splashes of color throughout the film, even during dark scenes. I really appreciated when the camera would focus on a particular scene, like the one at the beginning of the film that showed the doomed world. It had an unreal realness to it, if that makes any sense. I also enjoyed how well thought out this universe was, the aliens and tech. This film was more successful with this than Jupiter Ascending was. In Jupiter Ascending, they would try to cram a ton of exposition to explain everything. It looked like they were trying to put 3 films worth of continuity into 1 film. Valerian didn't do that. The film started with a montage of the future history of space exploration, with humans being angry, new species and races, and as that happens, our technology advances along the way. I really liked how they showed that. It was also nice that I believe Spaceship Odyssey was being played while this was happening. And now, unfortunately, the negatives. 1. The acting. The supporting characters were okay, but the main leads were horrible. I've only seen Dane DeHaan in 2 films, Chronicle and Amazing Spider-Man 2. I didn't enjoy his acting in Chronicle, and his acting in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was interesting. For some reason, it just sounded like he was trying to sound big and tough and rough and rugged. Perhaps like how the Valerian character from the comics would be. The problem is, he's not built like how Valerian looks in the comics. Also, the way he acts, he doesn't come off believably as a cocky, arrogant womanizer. And then there's Cara Delevingne. I don't think she's a good actress. I only know her from 2 other films, Paper Towns and Suicide Squad. In Paper Towns, she was okay, but she only really appeared at the very beginning of the film and the very end of the film. And in Suicide Squad, a film that I like. In that film, she barely says anything, and when she does, it's maybe 1 paragraph in total. It was as if those directors were trying to hide her away in the movie. She had line readings in this film that just fell flat, and when she was supposed to show some emotion, I didn't feel anything. Also, the character she plays, Lorelei, in the comics and in the anime series, she has red hair. For some reason, she doesn't have red hair in here. Also, the character is French. I didn't hear a French accent. This isn't a nitpick since this is part of the design of the character. I assume the filmmakers only cared about casting this particular actress. I mean, they could have given her a wig or dye it or heck, use CGI. Another thing I didn't like is, it's probably gonna sound weird, but why is this called Valerian and not Valerian and Laureline? That's what the comic is called. That's what the animated series is called. It was named because both characters are equally as important, even though from what I've read, Laureline is more dependable in the source material. Is the reason because the name Laureline sounds too weird? What, more than Valerian? Now, maybe it's because Hollywood feels that there can't be a major Hollywood film based on a new property that has two names in the title, or if one of those names is a woman. The public won't see a sci-fi film co-headed by a woman? Or maybe they think that the moviegoing public will be confused on who will be the main character. Is it going to be Valerian or is it going to be Laureline? I mean, there could only be one, right? Also, another issue I had with the actors is they don't have any chemistry. For whatever reason, the filmmakers decided to have the characters also to have a romantic interest in each other. If you're going to do that and not having chemistry, it's just not going to work. Another issue I had was with the 3D. It was non-existent. Correction. The only time that 3D looked good was before the film during one of the commercials. Other than that, nothing was enhanced. So if you have a chance, just skip the 3D. It's pointless. The writing was horrible. Scenes were predictable. Also, I could predict what would happen to a character once they first appear, and that's not good. The pacing was at times too slow, while at other times certain scenes would just go on for so long. An example would be when Valerian and Laureline are arguing, which happened a lot here. If the characters had some chemistry and the writing was good, then this could work. It doesn't work here, and I can't remember the last time in the last decade where romantic bickering was funny. What they were saying most of the time also wasn't interesting at all. And also, like I noted a little bit earlier, the characters don't resemble the source material. Valerian in the comic is way taller and more masculine. He looks like the stereotypical hero type, which works for the story. Here he looks like a pansy. Also, Laureline visually looks nothing like her source material. Like I said, in the comic, or hell, the cartoon, she's a redhead former 11th century peasant girl. She acts reckless and speaks her mind against her superiors. I vaguely saw some of this in the film. Also, what I feared for in the trailer happened here. Both characters have a burgeoning romantic relationship. In the comics, they do have a close or intimate relationship, but there isn't any romantic love, or at least not the parts that I've read so far. Why does Hollywood always do that? I can only think of 3 times off the top of my head when a man and woman work together in a film and there isn't any romance between them. RoboCop, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Mad Max Fury Road. I can't recommend this film. This film reminds me of Ghost in the Shell from earlier this year. Both are based on comics, both are visually and in world building great. However, the story isn't good and the acting of the main leads is horrible. Here's the thing, if both actors gave great performances, add with the great visuals, then this would have been a great film, because then I would have cared about what was going on. I mean, when I think about it, the best performance was probably given by Rihanna, who had a very small role, and Rihanna can't act, and if she's the best actor in the film, that is a problem. The music, with the exception of the opening song, was forgettable. It just seems like the director Luc Besson didn't pay enough attention to casting the right actors for the leads and the script and dialogue. But then again, over his last couple films, I've noticed that problem as well. The sad thing about this film is there's so much potential there. What they took and adapted from the comics to create this universe was considerable and well thought out, but the lack of attention to detail on other aspects of this film was just pitiful. What's worse is, just like with Ghost in the Shell, I bet people who saw this film and hated or decided to skip it altogether will never check out the source material, which is a shame because the source material is really engaging and easy to get. Each comic is about 50 pages long, and there's a beginning, middle, and end. It's available now in bookstores, comic shops, and online at Amazon.com. And it's priced really well and cheap. Plus, I just learned about a week ago that there was an animated series made almost a decade ago. It's 40 episodes long and it's available for streaming on Crunchyroll.com. Also, it's going to be collected and should be out by the time this video goes up on DVD. So basically, if you like sci-fi and if you want to see something new, skip this film. But buy the art book of the film when it comes out. Also try out the comics, which are also available on Comixology.com. Think streaming for comic books. And watch the TV series. And until my next video, have a good day.